Good morning, students. Welcome to English class. How are you all? I hope all of you are good and fine. Last class, we already started a story. It's named as Journey to Joburg, and it was written by Beverly Naidu. And we had already gone through the summary of this story, and also we just had an entire reading over it. And last class I said this class it will be explained by one. Therefore, let's start. I have already said you that it's a story of two children. Story of two children. Those who were living with their sister, little sister, and their grandma and aunt. They have a mother, but who was working in another place. So these two children wanted to bring her back to their home. In order to bring her back to home, they began a journey in this story. And in this story, we could see the after effect of the journey that they made. After effect means all the experience that they have got through the journey. Let's now begin. It was rush hour when they got on the train to Soweto, and the children clung on tightly to Grace. There was no sitting space, and it felt as if all their breath was being squeezed out of them. So here the story began by saying that the two children and the Grace, a woman who was there to help the two children to find their mother. So three of them have already started their journey. But when they got on the train, it was rush hour. It was a rush hour. There were no room. Room means there was no space even to stand, even to have a peaceful breath. That's what here it is written. It was rush hour when they got on train to Soweto, and the children clung on tightly to Grace. Here clung means we have already seen the meaning of clung. That is, clung on means held tightly. That means the two children, they clung on tightly to Grace. That means they were holding a Grace tightly. Because as I said, it was too rush in the train, and if they were not holding well in the hands of Grace, they would be missed in that huge crowd. And there was no sitting space, and it felt as if all their breath was being squeezed out of them. And it means they were getting struggling. So they were getting struggled to have a peaceful breath. Peaceful breath. Next. Grown-up bodies pressed in from above and all around them. Some people laughed, some people swore, and others kept silent as the train shook and lurched on its way. When the train took forward, or when the train was moved forward, suddenly some of the people laughed and some of the people swore, and others kept silent. Some of them kept silent. At each station, the crowd heeled towards the carriage door, people urgently pushing their way through. Naledi and Tiro tried to press backwards to stay close to Grace. It means At each station, the people know, at each station, the people were taking great effort to move towards the carriage door, and the people urgently pushing their way through. They are pushing each other to get in, to keep their place constantly. But Naledi and Tiro tried to press backwards to stay close to Grace, because they were trying to pull back, because they were trying to always be near with the Grace. As we said in the beginning, they were clinging on tightly to Grace. Otherwise, they would be missed, because they were children. Since it was a huge rush with the people, there would be a chance that they would miss. Students, sometimes we also experience such situation in railway station and so on. The same experience were experienced by the two children and the Grace. Next page. But in a sudden surge at one of the stations, they found themselves being carried forwards, hurling out onto the platform. They desperately tried to reach back to the open door, but passengers were still coming out, although the train was already beginning to move on. That means when they reached a station, one station, the children, they were pushed out of the platform. Now they are in the platform, not in the train. And they desperately tried to reach back to open door, and they were trying to enter again to the train, but they were trying and trying, but they couldn't, because the passengers were still coming out. Since the passengers were coming out, they couldn't get in again. And what happened? Naledi was just able to see Grace's words inside. So here you could see in the picture Grace, and Naledi could see just the face of Grace. The children were greatly terrified, because Grace is inside of the train and they are just outside in the platform. And what happened after? She was trying to get out. Grace was trying to get out in order to get them inside. But the train was on its way. Naledi and Tiro looked at each other in dismay. What now? It is such a terrible situation that children are being in the platform, and Grace, who came to help them, she was in train, and she also couldn't came out from the train. She was trying, but she couldn't, and the train was on its way. Naledi and Tiro looked at each other in dismay. They were desperate. Everyone was walking towards the stairs which led to a bridge over the railway line. So the people were walking towards the stairs, means the stairs that leads to the bridge that we know, that we could see in every railway station. The bridge would be there to pass from one platform to another one. So soon the platform would be empty and the guard would see them. So in their mind they had a problem, that was they were afraid of that the guard would see them, because no tickets, no money, no idea of how they could find Grace. They didn't have ticket, no money and no idea. And also Grace, one who was there to take care of them, she was also not there with them. She is just inside of the train. And they would have to wait until she came back to get them. So they had to wait until the Grace come back and to get them. Yet there was nowhere to hide on the platform, and they didn't see any place to hide themselves from the guard or from the police over there who was watching here and there. So now you know what are the emotions and the problems that the children have. Children have because they were already in desperate because the grace is in train. The second one is now they are afraid of the God because no tickets, no money, no idea. The grace should come. So yet there was nowhere to hide on the platform, and also another problem is that there was no place for them to hide themselves from the guard or police. Next one. Let's go and look from the bridge, Naledi suggested. So the Naledi said to his brother that let us go to the bridge. Let's go to the bridge, then let's have a look from the bridge. So suddenly, without any warning, there was a commotion up ahead. Three figures in uniform stood at the top of the stairs. Police. Yes. There were three police. There were three police in the stair. They are seen. Now the tension that was in two children's became some more bigger, or it just increased than the last situation. So people began to turning around and coming rapidly back down. Students, by seeing the police, there were many people who began to turning around. Means the people began to run away from them. And some of them just jumped into the platform and trying to go towards another platform. And the runners leapt at the fence and scrambled over it. That means they were jumping on the railway line. Then afterwards they were using their hand to jump on the another platform. All these visions we see in every railway station. Others jumped down to the track, sprinted over the railway lines, and clambered up to the opposite platform. But just as they got there, more policemen appeared on that side. So, since the policemen see that the people were moving, running here and there, going to the another platform by seeing them. So many policemen again came and just trying to catch them. So where can we go? Tiro urgently tugged at the sister's hand. Here the child, Tiro, the brother, he is asking that, where can we go? He is asking to his sister, where can we go? We will have to slip past them, she whispered, pulling him towards the stairs. It means Naledi was speaking in mild voice to Tiro that we shall have to slip past them, and pulling him towards the stair. Some people were feeling into pockets. Others frantically searching through bags. Pass raid. A man was protesting loudly that he had left his pass at home. So there was a man, he was saying that he forgot to take his pass. He kept in home. After keeping it, when he came to the railway station, he had left his pass at home. He forgot to take. It would only take 2 minutes to get it, and he was saying that, saying to the police that, only I need only 2 minutes to take from my house the pass. No, so only 2 minutes is enough for me to take my pass from my home. And again, the police could come and see, or someone could call his child, to bring it. Another option is he has a child in house, and the police could call his child to bring the pass. He cried out of his address once, twice, then slapped. He was crying and crying. And Ojobek, by hearing this, a voice was raised. That is Ojobek. What do you mean by Ojobek? Last day we have seen the meaning. That is a word in African language a word in Africans meaning shut up. It means shut up. So a voice raised, that is shut up, Ojobek. Barged the white officer in charge. A white officer was there. Why it is written here white officer? We have already discussed in the introduction that the discrimination between the people, white, black, colored, and so on. So it's written here white officer in charge. He was shouting shut up towards the man who was crying, who was making loud voice that he lost, or he has left his pass in house. Towards him, the white officer said, Ojobek, shut up. His blue eyes stared coldly as a black policeman pushed the man against the wall. And he was coming and pushed the man by staring at him with his blue eyes, and pushed the man against the wall. One at a time, people were pulled forward to be checked. When a boy said that he was not yet 16, the policeman just yelled that he was a liar and a loafer. Here, students, it is saying that a child was there, a boy was there, and he was saying that I was not at 16. But the policeman was not ready to accept his statement that the boy made. Boy said, I was not yet 16. But police said, he was a liar. That boy was a liar. He is lying. And a loafer. Don't believe him. Tiro felt his heart freeze. By hearing this, Tiro felt his heart freeze because he was also a boy, like the boy to whom the police was shouting. But the boy didn't cry. Even though the policeman shouted at him and saying that the boy was a liar or a loafer, boy didn't cry. Instead, his eyes seemed to have fire in them as he was handcuffed. A voice in the crowd shouted, "Shame, locking up children." So a voice came out. So in our society also something is happening. Some like these situations are going on. Then there would be the people who always try to comment to the situation. Similarly, a voice came out, that is, shame, locking up children. That means since the police had stopped the child, and refusing and rebuking the child by saying he is a liar and loafer, by hearing this, a voice, a man or woman, said like this, shame, locking up children. That means a protesting voice, a protesting words were risen from the crowd. As the muttering grew louder, a woman spotted Naledi and Tiro and screamed, "You will say that these kids are 60 next." As the muttering grew louder, a woman spotted Naledi and Tiro and screamed. A woman was saying by showing Naledi and Tiro like this, "You will say these kids are 60 next." So the people began to criticize the policeman. People began to criticize the policeman. And the white officer took a threatening step forwards. So again, he was getting fired up in himself towards the people. He looked murderous. He looked murderous. He was staring at everyone. Murderous means one who stares at everyone. Then, glancing at the children, he made sign with his hand for them to go through. So, then glancing at the children, he made a sign with his hand for them to go through. "We can't stay on the bridge while the police are here," panted the lady when they had got past. From the bridge, they could see the road outside the railway station. Next to a large one were more police. An old woman was being pushed inside the van. Tiro looked back at the people in handcuffs on the bridge. So, from the bridge, the children could see some scenes, some visuals that are, they could see the road outside, they could see the road outside the railway station, and they could see a large van of police, and an old woman was being pushed inside the van, and Tiro looked back at the people in handcuffs on the bridge. "Why don't we run and call the child to bring his father's pass? We heard the address so we can find it." Since the children heard the address of the man who was caught by the policeman because he didn't have the pass, he has left the pass at home. So the Tiro here, he is saying that let's go to his house and get the pass. Then no problem, the police will leave him. "Let's hurry then," agreed Naledi. So Naledi also agreed her brother's statement, her brother's words. Once past the police van, they asked a lady selling apples at the roadside to point out the way. The children waved in and out of people as they ran along the stony road between rows of grey block houses, all looking exactly alike. No great leafy trees here, only grey smoke settling everywhere. So the children they began their task. Task is nothing but to get the pass of that man. So they went out from the station, railway station, and asked a lady who was selling the apple, and they were asking the way through which they can reach the house. And they understood and they were going on. When they reached the right house, so the children reached at the home of that man, and they found a boy struggling with a heavy tub, and they saw a boy over there in the house. As soon as he understood their message, he dashed into the house and a minute later came rushing out with a book in his hand. So by seeing two children, he understood the thing. And suddenly that boy entered back into his house and got a book. The children saw that boy was bringing a book in his hand. And all three raced back down the road, but just as they came in sight of the station, there was the big police van pulling off. So what was happened afterwards, that three of them, means that boy also went with the children to the railway station. But when they reached the railway station with the pass, the big police one pulling off that was going away. The boy shouted at it as it sped past them, carrying away his father. He flung the pass down, picked up a stone, and let it fly at the van. The van swung around the corner, the stone just grazing the mudguard. The thing that was happened there, the boy and the two children, Naledi and Thiro, when they reached at the station, they saw the van was pulling away. That means it was going away from the station, and with a louder voice, he was shouting, "Who? The boy." The boy means the son of that man who was caught by the police, and he took a stone and just threw, and it was just touched, or it was just grazed at the mudguard of the vehicle. Nothing more was happened. "I will burn this one day," he was saying. "I will burn this one day," stormed the boy, picking up his father's pass. "How can our parents put up with it?" There was fury in his voice. Then it became gentler. "Thanks anyway for trying. I must go and tell my mother now." So situation became more saddish, because with the boy, even though the boy came with the pass, justice was with, even though the justice was with him, his father was caught and he was taken into the police station. So he was shouting and shouting, but later that sound, the shouting, became gentler. Then he was saying, "Thanks anyway for trying. I must go and tell my mother now." He wanted to say this matter to his mother. The children stood silently watching as he walked back home. So the two children, they were looking at his situation, they were looking at his face, his difficulty, his mental pain that he has got. So children stood silently watching as he walked back home. They were watching that he was going at home. Naledi Tiro. But really, it was not the tone, but it will be like this. Naledi Tiro. Startled, they looked around to find from where the voice was coming. So, Naledi Tiro, a voice arose. From where it was come? They were looking here and there. Who called us? Only the grace knew. So, we could say it was grace who called them. Yes, it sounded quite far off. Looking up towards the railway bridge, they saw Grace waving. Quickly they ran back to the station. Since they have seen Grace. Grace came down with their tickets to get them through. It was a relief to be with her again. So they were relaxed since they got Grace. They saw Grace. "This time I am really going to hold on to you," she told them. So the Grace was saying that this time I will hold you, your hands tight with the tight. I never leave you. And there will never be any chance like just before happened. So taking each firmly by the hand. So Grace held their hand tightly. And what our Tiro said is, "Do you know what happened to us?" So Turo was anxious to tell Grace all. That means Turo was saying to Grace that, do you know what happened to us? The question, it reveals that how much anxious was Tiro. So he was very much anxious to expose the experience that they got from the station or got during a few minutes before. So with this,